Washington this past week.
I have been authorized by the Department of Justice to confirm that the FBI, as part of our counterintelligence mission, is investigating the Russian government's efforts to interfere in the 2016 presidential election. And that includes investigating the nature of any links between individuals associated with the Trump campaign and the Russian government, and whether there was any coordination between the campaign and Russia's efforts.
Now, the FBI director's rare public confirmation of a major investigation, let alone one that casts a cloud over the president, is a big deal. Also important and troubling, the open partisan sniping between Democrats and Republicans involved in the House Intelligence Committee investigation into Russia's election meddling. Republican Chairman Devin Nunes say the committee's top Democrat keeps exaggerating evidence of possible collusion between Trump associates in the Kremlin. The ranking Democrat, Adam Schiff, in turn, says the chairman's decision to run to the White House last week to brief the president on a new discovery proves his GOP loyalty trumps his commitment to a thorough investigation.
I think that what at this point would give the public more confidence than anything else is if we didn't stop what we're doing, but we established a truly independent body, quite separate apart from the Congress, just as we did after 9/11, that the public can say, okay, at least there we can be confident someone is doing an investigation unhampered by political pressures.
Too late, perhaps, but I suggested the other day, and I know reporters, my fellow reporters won't like me for this, but that both the chairman and the ranking member shut up and go in the private room and do their work so that when they come out and say something, whether it's we found something or we found nothing, everybody could look at it with credibility as opposed to this has become a partisan spectacle.
Well, Nunes has said that he's going to come out and brief reporters regularly just to keep people apprised of what they're doing. But what's been surprising about what he said is that he's taken steps without informing his Democrats on the committee and giving them an opportunity to turn around and criticize them. One being that surprising revelation last week that that some intelligence reports that he's seen showed some communications referring to Trump associates, Trump transition officials appearing in intelligence reports and then suddenly briefing the president of the United States, not telling his committee. And then on Friday, coming out and canceling a Tuesday hearing on Russia without getting the backing of his own committee, now making that look like he's doing this to help protect the White House at the same time as investigating the White House and those Russia links. That is only going to sow public doubt about whether or not this panel can actually come to some sort of bipartisan consensus.
The plan was to get public testimony from James Clapper, the former director of national intelligence, John Brennan, the former CIA director, and Sally Yates, who was the acting attorney general when Donald Trump took office because she was the most senior Obama administration official left, and he fired her after she refused to implement the travel ban. But we were going to have public testimony, and clearly this was not going to be a good day for the president because any public testimony talking about this investigation is not. So is that what Devin Nunes did? I'm going to cancel this public hearing and protect the president?
It certainly seems like it. And the reality is, I can't recall a back and forth with Democrat, Republican on the Intel Committee. The Intel Committee is always supposed to be slightly above that. Well, it's not now. It's in the mud. And it may have sort of given the president a short-term lifeline last week, but a long-term one, I'm not sure, because they basically have added more, sort of a weight to the argument that there should be an independent investigation. Republicans probably won't call for one, but the credibility of this committee now is in serious question because of Chairman Nunes.
And three Trump associates, some closer than others. Let's be clear here. Not all these people are very, very close to the president, but three have now agreed to come in and give testimony, or at least to be questioned. I don't know if I want to call it testimony. I don't know if officially they're going to take oaths or that. We'll find out that. But Paul Manafort, who was the former campaign chairman and campaign manager for a stretch, Roger Stone, who is a Trump associate and a dirty trickster going back for a very long time, or Carter Page was a foreign policy advisor who did not have a very significant role. They're all coming in. They all have, in Manafort's case, he's worked for people close to the Kremlin. Carter Page's case, a couple trips to Russia where he talked to Russian officials. Roger Stone was the one who told us weeks in advance, wait for John Podesta's emails. They're coming out. He had some back channel with WikiLeaks. Listen to Adam Schiff. This is the ranking Democrat yesterday saying why he thinks this is so important.
It was in July that Paul Manafort was Trump campaign manager, that Trump foreign policy advisor Carter Page traveled to Moscow, that the Trump campaign intervened to defeat a provision in the Republican Party platform hostile to Russian interests in Ukraine, and most significant, it was July when Russia began weaponizing the information it had stolen in an effort to attack Hillary Clinton.
This is the circumstantial case the Democrats are trying to put together, saying that all of this happened around the same time. Monday and Friday happen to be in the same week. Sometimes it just is a coincidence. We don't know that. Again, should he be out talking publicly about this, or should they just do their work?
The FBI is also actually investigating all of this, and by coming out and saying what he said in his public testimony, Jim Comey has very much preserved his right, his ability to independently go ahead and carry forward that independent investigation. So to me, there's really a question about what power do the intelligence committees have to investigate something that the FBI isn't already investigating anyway. Then there's also the second point that you alluded to, which is that you can be interviewed by a committee behind closed doors, under oath, by staff, with staff. Those can be the most valuable work that a committee can do, not the theater that you see in public, but the behind-the-scenes interviewing that can go on.
John, I think it's a real risk for Democrats to continue to dangle the collusion thing out there. If those three associates come forward, they testify, and it doesn't appear to the public that there was much there. How much did Democrats invest in this idea of collusion that didn't actually happen? It's a risk for Schiff to continue to dangle that out there.
Just quickly on ties, you were talking about how closely the president is associated with some of these people. I know that Trump has told people he hasn't talked to Roger Stone in more than half of a year. Paul Manafort, though, he has spoken.
Manafort is the big one there because of his role in the campaign and his past consulting work. All right, everybody sit tight. Our reporters share from their notebooks next, including a preview of an upcoming and, of course, very controversial Trump executive order.